Seems like I've known Charlie forever. And the great thing about Charlie is that I know he personally knew Moses. It's hard to give enough thanks for what Charlie's done in my life and what Christ has done. I think most of my life I've always thought that I've been a really good Christian until I met Charlie and really opened the Word and made it alive for me. It's radically changed my life. My relationship with my wife is absolutely amazing. And every day I give thanks for what God provides, but I also give thanks for what Charlie has opened the door for me in my life.
Well, I'm just so happy to be here and to get to talk about one of my favorite people. I've known Charlie almost 30 years now, and I can think of no better friend, no better mentor, no better example for me and my wife. Charlie's just been a great friend and a great example over the years, and just a real model of consistency. And my hope and prayer, just Charlie, is that you have many, many more great years. And I don't need to tell you this, but don't disappear, because we want to keep seeing you. Thanks, Charlie. Love you.
Charlie, you've changed my life. When I grew up in a church that the only thing I knew, or only way I knew to lead people to Christ, was to drag them down to the altar. And that's a difficult thing to do sometimes. But then I found out after I met you that you could invite people to various events and give them the message of salvation, and it worked. And so thank you for changing my outlook on how to lead people to Christ. And you've made a difference in my life, and that's made a difference in Christ's kingdom.
Hey Dad, this is Chuck. Just want to let you know how much I love you. And when I get the opportunity to introduce you at events and things, I tell the people in the audience that you're the most godly man I know. And that's something coming from your son, because I get to see the good times, the bad times, all the times. And the way you love Mom, and the way you love us kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids now, the way you love men and invest in their lives, the way you've invested in our lives, the way you've always taken time from when I was a little boy, taking time to coach our ball teams when you were very, very busy, to taking me on road trips. And I think about the times we went on vacation and walking down the beach. I have never in my life seen you gawk at another woman except our mom. And I can't tell you what an example that means for me and my brothers and other men, to know that it is possible to be a godly man. And you're always very clear about it, that it's not you. In fact, you've been vulnerable and shared with us your past and your childhood and what you were, keeping this G-rated. But you know, God's changed your life. And for people that ask me, I always point back to Mom, because really God used Mom first. And it was her becoming a Christian through the friend of mine in kindergarten that led her to the Lord. And then through a couple tough years of you doing everything you could to convince her she was wrong, you realizing that Jesus was the answer and you needed a personal relationship with him. And I've been able to see him transform your life completely. I've been able to watch you walk out as a godly man and a leader in our community and especially in our family. And Dad, I love you. I love being your son. I'm proud to be your son. And it just gives me great honor today with all these other people to say what an eternal impact you've had on my life. I had the opportunity just this past week ago to share my faith with over 300 people from around the world. And I give you the credit for that. So God's used you in my life to plant a seed of greatness, because Jesus in me is the only thing worthwhile. It's allowed me to have a great marriage, a great family, and everything I am that's worthwhile is because of my relationship with Jesus Christ. And I thank you for being the patriarch in our family that leads the way. God bless you. I hope you have a very, very special day today, and I hope you enjoy this the rest of your life, and may that be a long time. God bless you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rick Surratt. Sue and I, my wife, and I have known Charlie and Tammy for well over 30 years, through CBMC, through Hope Church, and through Caleb. Charlie's always been an example for me, a mentor for me. I think of a lot of things Charlie said that impacted my life over the years. I think the biggest thing that impacted my life is when I was struggling with my marriage. I would call Charlie and ask for direction and guidance, and Charlie told me one thing I'll never forget. Rick, love your wife. It took me a long time to learn what loving my wife really meant, But that statement always sticks in my mind, and for that I'm so thankful for Charlie. Wishing you the best. You and Tammy the best, always. Love you.
I've known Charlie for probably pushing 35 years. Charlie, I first met when he was standing about 45 feet from me, 15 feet in front of third base, daring me to bunt. And I thought I'd give it a try, and it didn't work. Got thrown out. So from then on, I knew that if I was going to be playing Riverview Baptist Church, I wouldn't be doing much bunting. But then I got to know Charlie a whole lot better after my college days and got involved in Christian Businessmen's Committee. And by that time, I'd married my wife, Becky, who Charlie would always tease me that he had known her much longer than I knew her, which is true. But Charlie was just always a real spiritual inspiration to me. I remember when they first had a family retreat for CBMC, and I wasn't sure about going, Charlie said, "Bill, you'll love it. Your whole family will love it." And they became as important to us, if not more so, than the family vacations we took skiing every year. We came away with a whole lot more spiritually from those, certainly. But I'm so happy to just be a friend of Charlie's. Iron sharpens iron, and boy, he sharpened me several times. And I just wish you all the best, Charlie. I don't know if there's such a thing as retirement for you, but maybe you won't be working quite as many hours as you were before. God bless both you and Tammy.
This is a pleasure for me, Charlie, to address our friendship. I'll never forget the time you walked up and introduced yourself after I'd given my testimony about Rick Dewey, causing me to realize that I needed to get off the fence and accept Jesus. That had to be back in 1981, and we go back a long ways. And Perry and I both wanted to express to you and Tammy what a important you all have been in our lives. And I think back of all the times I've talked to you about wise counseling. If there's ever somebody that I call, after checking first with God, of course, is calling you and checking things out with you. There's been at least 3 or 4 major decisions in my life since early 80s that we've sat down and talked about. And you and Tammy's counsel to Perry and me has always been very special. So, old friend, and I mean that affectionately, I wish you the best and hope we spend a lot more time together. God bless you.
Okay. Charlie, I just want to thank you, and as you know, it's hard for me to talk about things like this because I tend to be a very emotional person. I can't think of anybody that has impacted me and my family more than you and Tammy. Not only have you been a wonderful mentor and the person that led me to the Lord, but you and Tammy have been wonderful examples to us of a godly marriage and a godly family. And I just I can't tell you how much I appreciate all you have done for us in our family. I don't think a week goes by where I don't quote you to somebody else. Something that you've told me, and also the way that that you discipled me and led me has been a great example to me on how to lead other people and try to impact them for the Lord. I just want to thank you and Tammy for the wonderful example you've been to us, and thank you very much. Bye.
Charlie Williams, what a remarkable human being. I met Charlie many years ago after Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. He and Rick Burke had come over to my office, and I said, "Gentlemen, what is this all about?" And they said, "Well, we wonder what you thought of the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast." And I told him, I said, "I thought it was wonderful." And Charlie got out the little book there, Steps to Peace with God, and we went through that. And when we got through with that, he said, "Now, is there any reason why you can't accept Jesus Christ today?" And I said, "None whatever." I had been confirmed years ago to a little home church over in Columbia, Illinois, but never meant that much to me, and I wasn't all that great of a Christian. And through the years, Charlie and I continually met. It's one thing about Charlie, you can always depend on the man. He's a great guy and always ready to help somebody. And it's been a pleasure for me to know Charlie and Tammy and the family. And I just met one of the new members of the family about 10 minutes ago. And I wish you, Charlie, and Tammy good health and much success for you and your family, and that the good Lord leads you and keeps you and gives you many, many more years.
And when you get to be my age, trying to remember back a few years ago gets longer and harder to do. But it seems to me that I remember meeting Charlie Williams at Bud Blossfield's house one time when we were trying to figure out how to encourage guys to come to Promise Keepers. And I don't remember what year that was, but it was probably more than 15 years ago. So that was the first time I had a chance to interact with him. And then I do remember coming to the ballpark in O'Fallon when Charlie was involved in like a retreat with some baseball players, and attended that and at his request. And I remember having a wonderful engagement then. And then a few years ago, I was asked to come to Caleb. So my relationship with Charlie Williams was, for the most part, been through Caleb. And I'm going to guess that's been at least 10 years. But I've been gone quite a bit this year, and every time I leave and come back, I forget some of the things that I used to know. But my relationship with Charlie Williams has been great, and I look at him as somebody that's been a wonderful encourager for guys like me, and I'm very thankful that I've been involved in Caleb with Charlie Williams. So best wishes on your retirement and many years of good health. Thank you very much.
Greetings, Charlie and Tammy, from the Cupsteads down here in Robeson Ranch, Texas. We are very disappointed we're not able to share this evening with you, but want you to know that we're thinking about you and reflecting on the wonderful years of serving our Lord with you in Jennings and at Fairview Baptist Church. Charlie, I'm reminded of some great fast-pitch softball, CBMC golf tournaments, watching our boys play sports for Jennings High School. Those were wonderful years, and you and Tammy blessed our life, and we are very grateful that the Lord saw fit to have our paths cross. When I reflect on the life of Charlie Williams, I am reminded of the life described in Psalm 128. Dr. Tony Evans, pastor of Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship here in Dallas, and also chaplain of the Cowboys and Mavericks, says that Psalm 128 describes what he calls a kingdom man. A kingdom man, first of all, honors God through his vocation, and as a result, God blesses him materially and gives him ever-increasing challenges and responsibilities. Secondly, a kingdom man loves his wife, and he cherishes her and encourages her to achieve all of her God-given potential as a wife and as a mother. Thirdly, a kingdom man, through his example and encouragement of his children, sets them on the path to becoming kingdom men and kingdom women as well. And then finally, Charlie, and very fittingly, a kingdom man honors God by contributing to the spiritual health and spiritual growth of his community and his nation. Charlie, you have done all of the above with humility, with grace, and most of all, with a heart for men. Well done, kingdom man.
Hi, Charlie and Tammy, Ken and Liz Corkle, Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, it's a blessing to be a part of your celebration, and thank the Lord for you and your lives. Charlie, you're not so spiritual that you walk on water, but I've watched you drive like hell over the ice on one of Lowell Reeks' snowmobiles. And you've taught me how to laugh and how to have fun. The other thing you've taught me is a lot about marriage. I've always been pretty serious, and you and Tammy would take time and do a bunch of antiquing together. You've got no clue how much that's cost me, Charlie Williams.
Hey, Charlie, one of the things that impressed me about you was when you bought your wife that cute little sports car. I thought, hey, he's on CBMC staff, and he bought his wife a sports car. That really impressed me. I just blew the engine on my car, and I'm hoping Ken will follow your lead and buy me a little red Mustang or something like that. And the other thing I just remember about you guys so much was when we were at your house one night, I asked Tammy where her cats were. Her cats were really important to her. And she said, oh, she'd gotten rid of them because it was just hard for people to come when they had allergies, and it was just more thoughtful to have gotten rid of the cats. So I really appreciated that, and that stuck with me for a long time, that, of course, relationships were more important than our cats.
Guys, you've led so many people like us to follow closer to Christ because you've followed close to Christ. And we thank you. May God bless you. We love you.
Well, I am Matt Miller, and I have so many great memories of Charlie Williams. There's so many times that as I'm leading a Bible study, we're just talking to some guys, and I'll say, and Charlie Williams told me, it just goes on and on and on. So many times that Charlie has taught me over the years, and I just so appreciate his spirit. And there's one instant in particular that really blessed my life, and that was when in 2001, Charlie and I were in a Bible study / prayer group together downtown St. Charles. And going out of that meeting one day, he stopped me and said, hey Matt, I'd like to lead you through a study on marriage. Are you up for that? And kind of was taken back a little bit. I thought, well, does Charlie think my marriage is broken? But he knew that I could be a better husband. And he saw that in me. And so we went through Fanning the Flame. And it was a beautiful time of growth for me. And it blessed my marriage and my family in so many different ways. And actually prepared me to later, just a year or two, step into full-time vocational service as a missionary, and then move on from there to be a staff member for Calvary Church. And Charlie really helped to lay a good, firm foundation for me. So I so appreciate you, Charlie. You have just blessed my life in so many different ways, and I want to be able to pass that blessing along to other men and families. So keep going strong, Charlie. Thank you very much for all you've done.
My name is Jim Hall, and Charlie and Tammy and Susie, we go back to Hope Church back to 1987. Our first experience was when Charlie and Tammy taught a Sunday school class titled Lifestyle Evangelism. This led into numerous other classes, including weekly Sunday school classes, a small group type Bible study at their home for 4+ years, several CBMC couples conferences, along with numerous lunches as we talked about Jesus and how Jesus was alive in me, and Christ, grace, and his love for me. Charlie and Tammy were there for Susie or me, regardless of our situation. Other areas included serving on committees for conferences such as Dad the Family's Shepherd, Fanning the Flame, Promise Keepers, and monthly outreach luncheons. More important than the many activities, Charlie was there for me when things were not going well with Susie and I, along with work-related problems and circumstances. A number of times I would call Charlie and we would schedule a lunch date to deal with my personal problems. Also, there were times when Susie would call Charlie and ask him to call me and have lunch because things were not going too well. The critical part of this is that everything we dealt with was Christ-centered. In the late 90s, Susie and I sought counseling and were in counseling for several years. Things were not going too well. Probably the toughest things was we were dealing with a closed business, and Susie in 2000 was dealing with breast cancer. After several years of counseling, Susie told me and the counselor that I wasn't taking her breast cancer seriously. I felt differently. The next time I met with the counselor, I told him that. I didn't want to alarm Susie by showing fear. He told me that I was afraid for myself and didn't want to deal with the situation. This made me angry in that after all this counseling, I still didn't have a grip on the problem. When I got home, I told Susie I was going to call Charlie and see if he would meet with me weekly and deal with my shortcomings. Susie reluctantly agreed with me that I drop counseling. I called Charlie the next evening and he said he was available on Tuesday evenings. Starting the next Tuesday, we began going through Fanning the Flame. This was 2001. We continued to meet every Tuesday at the Hardys on Zumble through April of 2004 when I retired. We moved then to the bread company and met every Wednesday morning for several more years. One of the key tactics of the Fanning the Flame exercise was I was asked to give up my right to be right. This was difficult, but eventually I think Susie tired of me giving in at any time there were differences. Throughout all this, Charlie wanted one more thing to happen. That was for the men he discipled to find other men to disciple. This has occurred numerous times. Charlie loves true discipleship. Praise God for Charlie and Tammy. And through the years, Tammy has been alongside Charlie in all he does and has demonstrated many Christ-centered traits. Thank you, Charlie and Tammy, for all you do and have done. We love you, Charlie and Tammy.
Hi, my name is Jeff Williams. I am Charlie Williams' second and favorite son. How do I share how Charlie Williams has impacted my life? I'd have to say he hasn't impacted my life. He shaped it. He started that long before I was even born, I think. But I can share a couple stories to kind of emphasize the point. He teaches without preaching, is the best way I can say it. And not just biblical principles and whatnot, but I can remember when I was little, he used to coach all of our teams. I don't know how he did that. He had a nice job. I'm getting beyond that phase myself, but I still wondered how did he make time to do that. But I remember one time he was coaching, and we were on the high school ball field in Jennings, where we were raised, and he threw the pitch and hit me straight in the forehead. Yeah, that was when you just had the little side helmets, not like today. And they could see the stitches in the balls in my forehead. And my dad wouldn't let me get out of the batter's box until I hit one. I had to stay in there until I hit the ball. I mean, that's a teaching moment, and about not bailing out when things get hard. That's a lesson I've tried to use my entire life. When things get hard at work, when they get hard in the family, when they get hard with your kids, you might get hit in the forehead, you might have stitches, you might want to bail, but you don't bail, you stay in there, keep swinging. Another one, I was probably 14 years old, and I took it was a girl's, took a guy's car for a ride, and it turned out I ended up hitting a girl. Of course, being 14, I'd never driven before, didn't know how to drive, and my dad took care of all the details down at the police department, but I had to pay him back. I think it was like $1,700 back in the day. That's when money was money. And he made me work all summer and save as much as I could in order to pay him back. And it was a Wednesday night service, I think, at Fairview Baptist. And he came up to me and told me if I'd buy a ticket to some event they had going on, and I would go with him, that he'd forgive me all of my debts. I didn't have to do anything, just go with him, and he'd forgive me of my debts. And he wasn't doing that to be nice to me. It was a lesson on grace. That's what he was teaching me, was that I didn't do anything. I didn't earn that. It was something he was doing for me. That one I haven't got quite down pat, but I'm working on that. He not only teaches with real world things like that, but he teaches from where you are. It's out of his own life. Right now, I think the thing that I'm watching him the most on, several things, but one of the things is he chooses his responses to life events. I think he's done it, but I see it more now. He chooses his moods. better than most, I would say. But his overall perspective, he chooses it. The way he loves my mother, the way he loves all of you, the way he loves us, the way he reacts. He's not as driven by circumstances, and that's an amazing thing. I can only attribute that to his abiding in Christ and realizing that it's under control. Well, my dad's walk with Christ is, I don't know, different than I see it portrayed in a lot of ways. My wife calls him a real man. I don't know what that makes me, but that's what she calls him. I've never seen him cry. I've really probably never seen him what I would consider vulnerable. I've also never heard him utter a depressed word or feeling sorry for himself. Never heard him speak a discouraging word to me or my mother or my brothers. Maybe a few drivers as are in his way going down the road, but for the most part, I've never heard him be negative. It's kind of hard to live up to. So, I've also never seen him stop living life to the fullest. He's ready to go. I'll go stay at his house a few times, and we'll go to bed at 11 o'clock, and he's got coffee made up. I already watered the plants before I'm dragging out. It's pretty amazing how he does it. If some of these videos have sound like eulogies, I don't know if that's how this is going down, but don't be fooled. I'm headed right now. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to go and meet him. I'm going to take my boat over there, pick my dad up. We're going to launch into the Missouri River, go up a little bit, and go hunt Howe Island for a few hours and see how that is. And walk about 500 yards to our blind. And who takes up deer hunting at 75 years old gets their first bow kill? There's no eulogies today. My dad is all over it, and he's an amazing guy. I'll cut this short just to make up for the time that my brother ran over, my older brother. And sorry, Chuck. And I'll just say this, that my dad's not only influenced my life, he's shaped it, defined what a real man is, shown me what walking with Christ looks like, and he continues to do so. And I'm looking forward to the next. Thank you. Love you, Dad.